Chasing the Monsoon is the ninth contest of the Better Photography Weekly Challenge. In this video, we will be discussing the winners and honorable mentions. Our judge and mentor is Mr. Gurinder Osan. Mr. Gurinder Osan specializes in photojournalism, landscape, and social documentary photography. He worked as a frontline photographer for Associated Press, based in Delhi, for 10 years, where his work took him from war zones to cricket stadiums, natural calamities to nuanced human interest stories, which he has witnessed and photographed. Between 2012 to 2017, he worked as the national photo editor at Hindustan Times. He has worked for advertising agencies and also for prominent clients including UNICEF and foreign magazines. Presently, he works as the photo editor for Press Trust of India, heading and mentoring a pan-India team of many talented photographers. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Honourable. Yeah, thank you
So,
so much. It has been fun.
oh, okay. So now since you've seen all the entries, could you talk about it? What do you feel about it in like a
Yeah,
broad
yeah.
overall aspect?
This is where the judges are going to be judged. So I'll open the screen.
Yeah.
All good?
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Perfect. So we'll start with the DSLR category. DSLR thankfully still has people using it. And I mean, I also prefer a DSLR only. I hardly use my phone for photography. And I was glad to see some nice entries, but I also saw equally good entries in the mobile phone category. So it's not that we can say that there was a distinct difference between the two. I would say the phone smartphones are also catching up with the DSLR thing, but nevertheless. So we'll see some of the pictures that got shortlisted, approximately 10 of them in each of these categories. We're going through the DSLR category now, and see, this image is amongst shortlisted ones. It's to me, it's got many hidden meanings. You know, water has many connotations. I mean, if you see through psychoanalysis and it is to do with the subconscious mind. If you look at it physically, it has got many meanings. If you look at it pure physically, also there are so many things that it does to us. So, I mean, water by itself is a very powerful entity. And here, a submerged boat. You know, a boat is something that takes you across. It's a, it's a vehicle as well as it is also a, you know, it's a means. In that same water that you can read in so many ways. It's a way of getting across. And here it is lying, you know, kind of grounded if there was ground under it, or in this case, water. So it has got many layers. This picture has got many layers, even though it's a very simple picture and I think black and white works here better than the color may have. I think it did do something to me, so I kept it as one of the artists. I love to the children, like you mentioned, I've shot for UNICEF also. It's always a joy to see their absolutely natural reactions, and you know they are. This is how we should be. I mean, say that childlike versus childish, and that whole debate upon we as we go adults we used to start putting too many layers and all of them stupid ones around us. Whereas children don't care. They react as nature has programmed them to be, minus the the mind playing tricks on them. So their reactions are also hence completely natural and free and in this case beautiful also. And they're reacting to the rain. What could be more beautiful than rain falling down? And this looks like it is in South India. It is a kind of subtropical tropical area. So rain is a common thing there, but yet there is delight in watching it for these children who look like they are in a school somewhere. But it is Kochi. Sorry, it is Kochi. So it's a beautiful moment also, and I think the light also helps because partially indoors, partially outdoor light coming in like a soft box. So it is very subtle, monsoon cloudy light. So it's like a huge soft box out there. So it's playing well on the way it is giving the modulation on the single faces. It's also in the shadow areas, other three four girls who are visible in the picture. Even there is a very gentle play of light. It's like a very Rembrandtic chiaroscuro kind of happening in that area also. So it's nice to see, a lot of elements have come together well. And also the monsoon light has one more thing. As I speak about it, technically I realize that though we are seeing detail and enough detail in the shadow areas, The highlights are not compromised so much. One, it is because it's a DSLR and not a mobile phone. Two is because the range of tonality in a DSLR and in is higher, but the monsoon light, because it is gentler, there is not such a high contrast between the shadows and the highlights. So the outside light is also soft and the inside light is matching up as far as the dynamic range of the camera sensor goes. So the photographer has managed to uh, get detail in the highlights as well as in the shadows. So that's very nice to there's no there's nothing jarring the eye. So it's very well exposed in that sense, and it's the right moment in a the shutter speed click also. I mean, it's not the decisive moment feel about it. I mean, many things have happened right in this picture, which is why it was not this year. Moving on. So this is Calcutta. I mean, I love the play of windows, and here the photographer has chosen black and white, and it's making it far more graphic. If I remember the artist correctly, in a very Kandinsky way, the boxes of the colors and stuff like that. So here there's a frame within a frame. In this case, there are two frames within the frame, and what is interesting is the bridge outside. Seems to be the Howrah Bridge itself in Calcutta. So the way the photographer is even chosen to divide the frame in two equal halves, with the monsoon canvas playing one role, the Howrah Bridge playing one role, and the city landscape playing another role. So there's a nice division vertically as well as horizontally happening here. And again, the exposure is nice, so there is enough detail in the shadows, but yet there is some detail in the illumination inside. So it's again the DSLR advantage here, and I think it is interestingly composed. Though sometimes people criticize, that you find a frame and you put something inside it. So there is a criticism of that kind of approach, but it makes it very simple. It's like we used to joke about photographers who find the frame and then choose to shoot something through it. So that some people may criticize this kind of trick that is happening in this picture. But despite that, beyond that, the landscape outside is lending itself very interestingly within that approach. And he's broken the Klaus has broken that rule about uh, you know uh, not getting restricted to the typical find a frame or find a hole and shoot through it. But he's played around. So Klaus has had fun, I would say. Moving on, I hope I get that right. Yeah. This is quintessential Calcutta. There is the unpoured rickshaw. There is the murkiness of the streets there. There is water as always waterlogged, and the old streets of Calcutta. They are beautiful. There is no doubt about Calcutta being amongst the most amazing cities in India. Yet there is this element of this human labor that is happening, and the people rather inside the rickshaw are kind of shielded with a thin plastic sheet, which probably the rickshaw puller himself has put there, and he is preferring to be in the rain, in the water, and taking the elements. So it's got that kind of a story that goes beyond just the waterlogged street. So, like I said in my introduction brief when this contest began, that it's very easy to shoot a just go out and then when there's a rain, there's a street, and just go and shoot people in the rain, walking past or whatever. But this is going beyond. There's a story in this picture which is transcending the simple approach of find a waterlogged street, find people on it. So that's the easy way out. Here there is some degree of storytelling happening, which has a social message. It has other messages also laid. So I mean that's my first. This is again, the this whole we've stayed in. I mean, in our childhood also we stayed in houses which had a terrace. So the terrace, there's always you're always drying clothes on a terrace in India, and when the rains come, it's always a moment to scram out and get the clothes in ASAP. So it has that moment, and yet the lady's reaction in this picture is a very gentle one, and she's in a way enjoying the monsoon breeze. I would guess. At the same time, she's going ahead with that daily chore of washing the laundry and drying it, and in this case, trying to get it in. but there is a play of the monsoon clouds in the frame, and there's a play of wires in the frame. And I think the best part about this picture is probably her expression. So which really adds a lot of meaning to the overall. I found this funny. I found this, it's got that Elliot Erwitt kind of feel about how a moment has been chosen in a street. So with the way, that stray dog or street dog possibly it looks like a street dog, doesn't have a collar. And here is the other one whose caretaker is happily under an umbrella. And in that case, the dog is leading the so the owner of the dog. And the street dog, there's a line dividing the two. So that's also interestingly, it's almost like a mathematical equation being placed there. So that way, it all adds up pretty interestingly. And but the street dog, if you realize, is free. So for me, there is a positive element to that side also. Like beyond that line and the upper line, above that line, there's a degree of control, there's a degree of clinicalness about things. Whereas the street dog is all by himself, happy free probably. I don't know. I'm only guessing. I don't know. But yet it is. It's like on a blackboard you've drawn the elements. It's like a teacher explains. So that way it works out pretty well. The way this frame has been composed. So that's why I like this one. And it's also the colors, the yellows and the reds, and the black definitely is giving it a very defining boundary kind of. This picture to me was, it's a flash of so many colors, but not so many actually. If you look carefully, then there are lots of reds, there's lots of greens which are contrasting with some degrees of highlights happening, and the highlights are coming from the plastic seats of the passengers riding on top of the train, as well as possibly from a fill flat, the raindrops themselves. So, and it feels like rain. This picture feels like you can almost get wet if you touch this picture. So that way, I think it has that very monsoon feel about it, and the way the horizon also kind of blends into the misty rain effect and stuff like that. And the green definitely, there's nowhere else like, I mean, no time of the year would you find green to be so green. It's only in the monsoon that the green really becomes happy, and so we're seeing it in that way. Look at that one. This it's about having fun. Even as children, we used to, and every time it would rain, we would go to the terrace and play and slide and everything else. And now we lead restricted lives in flats and whatever bungalows, and even though it's kind of frowned upon going out in the rain, like we would definitely, when our children were younger, both my girls, we would every time the park outside would get flooded, we would go there, sit on the swing and swing into the puddled water under it and have fun in the rain. Feel the rain basically. The rain it's a blessing. So make the best of it. And here I find these children are completely with the elements. They're happy. It's got the whole water splashing and it seems to be post rain, but yet you can feel the monsoon has had its impact in the way the water has become a very important part of the picture. The sky definitely is very dynamic because of the clouds, and it's also the children's reaction. There is a sense of joy in this moment, and it's definitely thanks to the rain and thanks to the monsoon. So in that sense, this picture is I mean, it reminds me of my childhood also in a lot of ways. Yeah, and childhood should be about having fun. Should be about stepping out into the outdoors, being with the elements, enjoying them, feeling them, and in a way respecting them also. So for me, this picture became in a way complete in many ways. Ah, now the smartphone category. Finally, so moving on. Okay, this image again you see the aspect ratio has changed because it's now a mobile phone, and the image again the though it's a mobile phone shot, there's a lot of play in the way the I think it's coconut at the base in the landscape, and in the way the clouds are also it's also an interesting division of the frame, almost like one fifth, maybe one fourth actually. One fourth of the frame is black, and other so many tonalities of gray. and it's dynamic. It's like there's a there's so much life in those clouds. They're like they're moving. You can almost see the movement in this picture. The cloud seems dynamic and loaded, and it's so much potential of something happening. So that way, this picture becomes very, in a way, rich. This is I mean, it's a in a way easy picture, but yet there is the water falling through a glass pane, capturing through that. It has a street feel. What I like is that all the people somehow are wearing black raincoats, so they are really standing out in that greenish tonality. Otherwise, so and it seems like a small town street. So it's I mean it's fun. It's abstractish, of course. There's a dash of red on the right, which also helps. And so overall, it's nice play of highlights and interesting composition. I love these moments, when people get suddenly caught by the rain and surprised by the rain, and then how they all, they do with whatever is available. But this seems to be like a prepared lot. There's a lot of stacks available, and they have used them well. But it's also, it is a typical Indian theme where you will find the jugaad, the makeshift arrangement to be so uh, every day. It's almost like this is how it is supposed to be done. Why buy a raincoat when you have a plastic sack to cover yourself? And why not? It makes so much sense. It is upcycling of that plastic sheet that was probably going into a landfill otherwise. So it's good use of that plastic, and it's so much color, there's so much. Yet below that plastic exterior, you find women in traditional Indian saris in this case, and sitting in a typical Indian way or squatting on the ground. Not many people in the West, for example, get squat. So this is typically like India only that you find it. So that way, and it's also colors are all over, and the gray bluishness of the sky tells you that it is cloudy, and even though there's solitary trees, the only element of green, but the color overall, that whole mosaic of so much happening of people. You don't see too many faces, but yet there's so much happening in the people's mind who are possibly seeing something. I'm not sure, maybe a rally, maybe I don't know what, but they seem to be collected there for a purpose. So it's interesting. For me, it's very India. It's very colorful. It's definitely very raining, and I like the way the plastic seeds kind of add up. This is I generally these droplets collecting pictures. Many people like to shoot that, and there has been even in the pictures that came, there was a lot of these kind of pictures also. But this one stood out because of the way it is composed. That slight squarish aspect ratio definitely lending to the overall graphicness of this image, and the way the whites and the blacks, especially with the drawn droplets, are juxtaposed on the black form in the background. It looks very mountainish, probably I would guess somebody from this person seems to be from Calcutta, and possibly this is somewhere in Gangtok or Siliguri or one of these, not Siliguri, Gangtok or one of these high resist stations of service. But it seems like one of them, maybe in the northeast, I'm not sure. But it has that typical hill station feel with those rods at the back which are marking the street end. So and that even the structure in the background is sort of diagonal, which means that it is a rainy place. So there are a lot of things that are interestingly happening, and yet there is a this interesting graphicness also happening, broken by that big umbrella and that lady. So it's again, maybe if it was rectangular, this frame may have been very different. I think the squarishness definitely helps in this composition. Hmm. So this one again, it's so vivid. The the whole frame is busy. It's definitely something happening. There's a lot of color. There's that typical yellow of the Calcutta and after the taxi and the billboards and the people moving around, the bustle and hustle and the wires also dangling and the chaos that the typical city landscape provides, coupled with the rain. So like there's like in the UK Pune to Dhaka, like it's already so chaotic, and then you have rain to add further chaos and not confusion, just chaos. It's nice chaos. It's controllable chaos, like most of India is. So it's in a way it's a celebration of India also, I would say, or a speech of India also, this image. And it's because it is in a shot through a mobile phone. I don't know whether I should mention it, but technically the optics of a mobile phone will be very different from a DSLR because of the smaller size of the lens and the whole physics changes when the sensor is small, when the lens is small, as compared to, for example, a full frame DSLR, as compared to, for example, maybe a Hasselblad or a bigger, large format camera. So it's to do with the whole optics. So, I mean, if you compare, if I was to shoot this picture when I was shooting on a range on a 120 format, like which probably my grandfather had, so I will not get this kind of optics because of the whole the way the lens size and in that case the film size slash in this case sensor size, the whole the interplay of the optics and the physics that happens changes. So here it's a picture that is very uniquely in that sense mobile phone picture also. So in a way it is thanks to the mobile phone the optics that you're getting a picture like this, which is kind of granular and and also the mobile phone, averagely the softwares inside, they use some kind of filters which add the extra edge, which in this case is helping in defining the droplets and the whole chaos outside. So I would say it's a healthy mobile phone picture. Yeah. Yeah. And according to me, these two are the. You want to ask something, the local, on as we can see it?
So what would you probably give them a word of advice after seeing, like, all of them in general? Is there anything that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, see, if I look at the overall images, not just these are the two happy winners, I'm sure, and I've already talked about the reasons I like these pictures. I mean, actually, now that you put them together, I realize that both of them have that element of chaos, and then there is that dynamicness. These are very alive pictures, and
Hmm.
monsoon is a time when everything comes to life. Also, it's not spring for us; it is monsoon for us. Like in the Western world, it is in the rather the colder part of the world, it is the winters breaking into spring, which gives life. For us, it is the monsoon because it changes from a very dry uh, subtropical tropical zone to a completely rich, healthy, green, vivid, rich place. So the country transforms when the rain comes. So
Yeah.
for us, rain is the giver of life, and hence there is that whole verve that the rain brings. So I think both these pictures are in a way a celebration of that whole, the good things the monsoon does to us. It brings joy, it brings life, it brings happiness, and it adds to the chaos, which is so us, and it is fine. It is nice. It is good. So that's why. And talking about the piece of advice to the other people. See, what often happens. There is one thing that I mentioned earlier. Also, I try to pursue some degree of spirituality. And there is one thing that is said very clearly there that whatever you know as a person is never yours because the body that you have is what your parents gave you and the food you ate that made you for you. So it's not yours really. So the thoughts that you have and the emotions that you have are also dictated by circumstances around you. Like your memories are also circumstances that were not completely in your control. And all the knowledge that you also acquired is also, it's acquired. It's coming to you in stages. You probably put them together, different kind of puzzles. If you put the jigsaw puzzles differently together, but eventually it is never yours. And in spirituality terms, if you go back, it will go to your gurus, their gurus, further, and they say that ultimately you reach God himself. So that's the origin of all the knowledge and existence. So I'm not saying that there is anything new when it comes to knowledge. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to the approach to photography, we should not get too influenced by what we are seeing. Nowadays we spend more time looking at the screen than thinking. So
Yeah.
we're constantly in this mode of input. And very rarely do we stop, process, think, and then imbibe. Very rarely do we let our personal thoughts, our personal style, hence take over. So we do get dictated by what we see. I mean, our influencers are influencing us. So we should not let that happen too often or not too much. There should be a degree to that also. I'm not saying that is wrong or bad. I'm saying that there should be it should be done in a healthy way. so that you benefit, but don't get overwhelmed by what you're seeing and hence becoming a second rung or a second version of what you've already seen. When you step out to shoot or wherever you're shooting, try to think fresh. Don't say, okay, I've seen this picture, let me recreate it. Then what's the point? It's an also ran situation. That's not what a creative person would seek. Okay, if that is your pursuit, great, you achieved it. But if I'm saying as if you want to create something new and something completely unique, and that's something that will shake up people's sensibilities and make them think differently, then we ourselves need to think differently. We ourselves need to twist that language of poverty just a little bit into our idioms, into the way our thoughts have taught us to think in that direction, and hence that's the frame that I will choose. That's the moment that I will choose. That's the length hence that I will choose. So it is all controlled by who I am. So that who I am part is very important for a photographer. And I think the investment is not just towards looking at pictures. The investment is also at looking at reading up about I wouldn't say history so much. Yeah, I've not studied history myself, so I'm not the best speaker on that. But look at psychology, look at music, look at other world cinema, look at music, pure music, look at definitely classical music, and let it all come. Look at painting. I mean, let this look at everything else. There is so much modern ways of art that is happening now. Look at everything else also, not just photographers' work being placed in magazines or on social media handles. Don't restrict. I'm saying don't restrict your input. Make it a healthy one. I mean, even everything you do, every day of your life, everything that you do should become an ultimate, accumulator of knowledge. And every time you should be gaining that little insight into whatever you have seen or experienced, process it and make it yours somewhere inside. So that when you're shooting, your way of seeing will be uniquely yours. It's not hence so borrowed. Like I said, everything is borrowed. Everything is an influence on you, and there's no way you can say that what I'm doing is completely original. It's never the case. Even with the most amazing people, there is a degree of influence from somebody somewhere. There's a guru standing at the back of those people also. But yet, try to surprise yourself. Like I said in my earlier presentation also, definitely step out and surprise yourself. And the surprise can only happen if you are thinking fresh also. And that thinking fresh can only happen if your thoughts are yours or your interpretation, your perception. So what you need is a very healthy, varied input. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nilofer. Thank you so much for everything and all the best. And all the best to everybody else also and happy shooting.